And yeah, we're gonna get started here. I was just gonna see if we get a few more folks, but just a quick show of hands or voice vote or whatever. Who's here using Git? Okay, so we've got some people that are big on Git. So that's really what we're going to be talking today. It's if you're working with anything more than one developer, even if you are working by yourself, Git's kind of the standard now for source control for a lot of the world. And there's some great things about it, but there's also some really annoying things about it. So we're gonna chat a little bit about that. And yeah, I just want to give a little bit of also, I like this interactive. It's tough when it's online, so please feel free to raise hands, ask questions. I'm happy to be interrupted to discuss and go down a rabbit hole if there's a comment or a question. So with that, then let's get started. Let me share my screen here, and I can start to show you a deck. So hopefully this shows up. Okay, it's loading. There we go. Okay.
We can see it.
We can see it. We got everything here. Okay, great. So let's just first off, who am I? My name is Kilpatrick. I've been building websites since 1996. If you want to do the math on that, that's a really long time. And I've been doing everything from mobile development to Cold Fusion's kind of where Nolan and I got knowing each other, to now working primarily for the last about the last 10 years as a developer advocate, running developer relations programs for a lot of different companies. Atlassian, VMware, Essentia, Nutanix have all been places I've worked. Recently was at Hazelcast, and I just joined LinearB in June. And LinearB is a pretty cool company. Been pretty excited and happy there. As hobbies, I scuba dive. It's actually a shot of my father and I in the Great Barrier Reef. And then I have a dive boat. I live down in near Monterey, California. My dive boat's called Pitter Patter because it's diesel, and I'm a fan of Letterkenny. I'm Canadian, so Letterkenny's. If you've heard of Letterkenny, it's basically a documentary of my hometown. So that's little fun facts here. So let's get right into it. So brief history of software development. From my perspective, the bad old days of waterfall development, if everybody's familiar with that, came out of a paper from the early 80s where basically management comes up with this giant product requirements document, and you then code to that, and 9 to 24 months later you ship something. That's how it used to be. And there's some good things and bad things about that. Is like it would take more time, but releasing and all this other stuff was painful, and it was very top down. And then in the early aughts, we started doing this thing called Agile, and it started to do this thing we called shifting left. We're giving developers more and more power, and having developers give more power over the day rather than product or management or the CEO or whatever. And so people actually started listening to what developers said. And, we'd have arguments about what is Agile and what's not. We build our software and then toss it over to ops. Hey, they got to run it. We don't care. I did my job. Looks good to me. And then now we're kind of moving into this other way. Is we started caring about operators and actually running our software in production. And this is where we're at now. I feel like DevOps is kind of a change where with cloud, most developers are now doing operations. Most operators are doing some sort of development, even if it's just scripting. So, it's a different thing. And this is where we start getting into more modern tools, CI/CD, pipelines, and stuff like that. And there's a lot of different stuff where you're doing tests and deploying. And, our deployment's gone from 24 months to now some companies are deploying 50 times a day. And deploying 50 times a day with A/B testing, with feature flagging. There's all kinds of tools that have been done for that. So when we're doing that, we as developers, we're merging into Git. We're taking our branches, and we got these things called pull requests or merge requests if you're using GitLab, and they're great because they have forced people to look at your code. It's code reviews, but it's also slow. Do we have? I think we have I think Sean, would you mind muting? We got some background. There we go. Thank you. And pull requests, they have some good things, but they're also painful. And I'm going to share a little bit of data with that. Something that's been very interesting. We've been doing a lot of stuff of optimizing as an industry for improving code. We've been doing Copilot. There's been a lot of stuff, a lot of tools, a lot of IDEs, a lot of packaging managers. There's been a lot of stuff to really help us coding. But if you're working as a professional developer, you spend a lot of your day in meetings, doing housekeeping, planning, doing reviews, and it sucks up a lot of time. I like coding. I like doing the 2 hours, but I have a lot of times, especially as you get more and further away from the individual contributor role, you spend a lot more time in meetings than you do coding. So at LinearB, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do to improve that. So, and one of the things is unlocking developers and making better use of developers' time is really where we want to be going at, because there's the old saying, software is eating the world. Every company out there is a software company. Everyone here ever heard of Domino's Pizza? I know I have. Domino's Pizza is an interesting company. They actually they view themselves as a technology company that sells pizza rather than a pizza company that has technology. And if you've used their apps or anything like that, their tech stack is actually really impressive. And they've done a lot of stuff with order tracking and some different things to make a very thing, as well as managing the stores with point of sale system, etc. And they release very quickly and update very quickly to do that, to give a better experience, so that ordering a pizza from Domino's is the easiest thing and a really good thing to do. Now, if they can improve their pizza a little bit better, I think we'd all like that. But getting it to you has gotten easier than it ever has before. So this is so technology and having good developers and good innovation is really what's making companies competitive. And if we don't do that, and your stuff's getting stuck in development, if your code's not releasing regularly, then you're missing out. You're losing stuff to either your competition or your industry as a whole. So LinearB is a tool that connects between your Jira and your Git, and it checks and sees how everything's working together. And from this, we've done this a lot, and we've done a lot of research here, and we've looked at over 1 million pull requests, millions of reviews, and I think my number's a little bit out of date. I think we're actually being used by about 30,000 developers now. So we've pulled a lot of data, and this is what we found. This is about the average. So if you're doing a pull request and getting a code review, coding takes on average 19, 20 hours, maybe 2 days to, for a ticket, depending on the size. And then you go do your pull request, and it takes about 9 hours for someone on your team to notice. Okay. That kind of sucks, but okay. The problem is when you get into the review phase and you go back and forth, or if it's just sitting there in someone's queue. And we found on average that's taking 5 days. And then if you got your CI/CD pipeline set up, once your review's done, it gets off and tests and it deploys in 80 minutes. So you're like, it's good. But the biggest problem we're finding here is that what's slowing code down is the review cycle. So how do we fix that? And, because everything else we've been able to automate and optimize. This is what DevOps has brought us, and it's been great. And in this research, we also found that 50% of the PRs are sitting there doing nothing 50% of their time that they're existing. And a third of them are actually just idle for about almost 78% of their time. So if you've done your task, your code is done, you're ready to have it reviewed by anyone, and it just sits there. And I don't know about you, but this is incredibly frustrating to me, because I'm ready to move on to the next thing, or I've moved on to the next thing. Now I've got to come back, open up, and if someone's reviewed it and found issues or something like that, we're going back and forth, and I've got to move from task to task to task. So, and a lot of the times, the pull request is, oh, someone looks at it and they just say, it looks good to me. And I've waited for 5 days for someone just to give it a cursory glance. That's frustrating. And so these are things that we're trying to figure out how to solve. So we've come up with this idea at LinearB called continuous merge. And let's go into a little bit what that is. This is a frustration. Does anybody else have a frustration of getting a code pull request reviewed? I know there's some teams that are really great at it. Other teams, yeah, it's tough. And so, we're trying to fix that, and it's often a human problem. But as in most things in software development, fixing a human problem with code is always preferred, right? If we can fix a human problem with some code, or at least help a human problem with some code, we're doing our job. So let's take a look at this. People are probably very familiar with this. This is essentially the DevOps loop, only I've straightened it out a little bit. Excuse me for just one sec here. Yeah, there we go. This is, your code, you do a PR, you merge, you do integration, and then you deploy. And that's great. And really what we have is CI and CD covers a lot of this. But what we're trying to do here, our next step, is add in our new step, this continuous merge idea. And that takes place here. And so the idea here is we have a new pipeline called CI/CD. And so let's go into a little bit of what this continuous merge idea is. So in the old way, all PRs are the same. Whether it's 500 lines of code or 2 lines of code, whatever makes your change, PRs are PRs. You open up, it's basically a it's a Pandora's box. You don't know what's in it. It could be good things, it could be bad things. You don't know. So what if we had something that could tell us a little bit before we even open the PR what's going on with it? So that's what continuous merge does. It's the categorization of PRs. So we're setting up some different, and we do this through a continuous merge file, and it's just YAML, and you set it up. So if it's minor changes, we can have an automated approval. If you're just touching CSS files, or you're just touching something that's low risk, or you're adding docs, or you're doing tests, you know what? You probably can just automate those and approve them, and then go merge. Some cases, we even have the capabilities here to auto merge it, and you still have the audit trail from the PR process. If it's a, reasonable change, hey, you're refactoring something, you're adding some code, you're adding a feature, but you've touched an area. What if the PR was automatically assigned to the person that kind of owns that area, can double check your code? I have a friend of mine, he works at JPL. Folks familiar with JPL? They tend to launch satellites at things out in the solar system. Recently, they just hit an asteroid with a satellite, which is kind of cool. Navigation software for space probes is really complex, and this gentleman's been writing this stuff for 20 years. And he gets some pair of Caltech grads in, and they'll go in and they'll rewrite his code, or they'll go work on his nav file, and other Caltech grad will approve the PR, and he will never even get to see it. And his comment to me is, remember the old day in the fax systems where you could just lock the file and no one could touch it? They could read it, but they couldn't do it. And he's like, I hate that about Git, is because I don't have control over my files. So this is one way to kind of restore that control, is that if someone touches this file on a per file level, you can say, you touch this file, you have to have this reviewer on it. So that way you have that right reviewer that's the expert on that file always there. And it's automated. It's done for you. You don't have to think about it. And now say you're going to go do something that's a major in PII, or a critical security change, or something like that, where you really want to have an audit. Again, you can identify this on a per file basis, or on a threshold of line numbers or something, and categorize that and add that number of things. So it allows you to have both the PRs that are trivial get through faster, but then also have the more complex, harder PRs get the full depth of review that they need. So instead of just getting, the old joke in the programming world. If you get a PR that's 10 lines, someone's going to go through, they'll check all the variables. They're going to go and say, okay, did you use tabs or spaces? Did you follow our code lining guides? Great. Okay, 10 line PR, we're pretty sure we're going to get a good review in most cases. 500 line PR looks good to me. That happens often. And so this is a way to get that larger PR that should have a better review done properly, and the one that was just, trivial pass through. So what does this look like? So we've got this tool that we just come out with, launched on September 22nd, called GitStream. And this is kind of how it works. We're going to do, sorry for the video on this. I'd like to be doing this live, but it's a little bit complex when you're doing presentations. And so we've got this here is our code. We've added, if you'll notice here, there's a .cm directory in our GitHub directory. And we've got just our basic index.js file. We're going to make some changes too. So we're just playing here. We're going to make some edits here in our docs, this readme.md. And we're going to type that in. And from that, we're going to go make a pull request. So basically everything in this is controlled. So this the tool is called GitStream. And what it is, it's all controlled by this CM file, this gitstream.cm file. And it's basically a set of GitHub actions. It works on GitHub. You install it onto your repo through the GitHub Marketplace. And then you load in a couple files. And let's just see here. And we've got our GitStream file. So, and we've got a file here. It's about automations. And so once we open this PR, we're going to have it set reviewers for us automatically. And this is pretty cool. So we check out our branch and we're going to add it. We're going to commit it. We're going to push it and we're going to go make a PR. Whoops. And this video is, okay. Sorry, this video moves very fast. Okay. And we commit our PR. It's here. And as we go in, we can commit it. And if you'll notice here, we're now into GitHub. And our commit is saying, okay, it needs reviews and merging is blocked. We need reviewers on this. Okay. So we automatically, GitStream goes through and it looks through the file or looks through the code and it's adding reviewers. So it says 2 pending reviewers and there you see it's added those 2 reviewers right there. So very simple. Now this is not huge rocket science. It says the check's passed. So now the reviewers are there and we're ready to go. So let's look a little bit of what this looks like. It's just a YAML file. This is nothing fancy. If you're doing anything DevOps wise, YAML's kind of the standard. And it's basically, we have these things called automations. You name the automation. This one we call it double review. If your branch size diff is more than 100 lines of code or 100 lines of changes, we want to have you to have 2 reviewers on it. Very simple. We can also add specific reviewers and away it goes. So it's nice. It takes that work off your plate. You do your PR, it puts the people on it, and it does. We also can do labeling, comments, regular expressions, a lot of different things. So just some ideas of what we can do here. Other things that are kind of cool is we can add a time to live. So a lot of PRs, if it's small or something like that, you can set a time to live on it for 2 days or something for certain areas of that code that if no one touches it 2 days, no one picks it up. You know what? It's good. Go merge it. It depends on what you're doing. And you with this configuration file, this CM file, you as a team figure out how you're going to do this, what type of things. This actually has you, in some ways, it forces a discussion of your team to one meeting. Sorry to add one more meeting, but have a meeting to discuss what type of guidelines you do to commit, what type of stuff is safe, easy commits that you trust the devs. The next question, other options is, who do you trust? If you have a senior developer, that's is good at this, how many levels of review versus a junior developer? If you have a junior developer with a new team, and they make a commit, you're going to probably want to have every single one of their PRs checked until you know their skill levels. So there's a lot of power here that you can add, different reviewers, different areas, different pieces, and that's all in our docs. I think this is, and I'll give a walkthrough through the docs at the end here. But there's a lot of power here, and we're adding more and more features to this as we go. So the idea here is to stop code from getting stuck here by giving more context, more information, more details on the PR. The PRs go faster, they get picked up quicker, and they get assigned faster, so that your code gets to deployment faster. The whole idea is to increase your development speed and your deployment speed by getting the humans more information so they can make quicker decisions. So, that's where this automating approved. We can fix a bunch of small things and it just goes. And that's the idea. So, small PR, small changes helps a lot. And it all matters, if you have a high trust team, you're going to have a lot of stuff that will auto merge in the way you go. And you have good high quality testing, then you can do a lot automated. If you have a low trust team or you have a lot of really complex stuff, you can go the other way and use this to really define who owns what code, who owns what pieces, what level of trust you have on each part. And you can really go down a rabbit hole to make this configurations to really run very well so that your PRs really get decorated properly. So that's basically what I've got to show you here today. You want to check it out, getstream.cm. Please email me, send me questions, anything like that. Happy to show you what we're working on. So, and that's my presentation. I'm going to pause my share here just a little bit, and I'm going to pop us over to the docs. Because unfortunately on the hotel Wi-Fi, here at the Cosmo doesn't like subdomains for some reason. So it's been a little bit more difficult here, but let me fix this. Let me see if I can get this on.
Luke, would it help if you just send me the link to the docs in chat and then I share my screen?
No, I just got them up here.
Okay.
1 sec here. I'm just gonna. I'm actually gonna pull it into a different browser for some reason. This one is. Yeah, no, we actually ended up with a backup docs set up. Yeah, let me just stop share screen. There we go. Okay, so now we should see our docs here. So very easy, get started. You pop over to the GitHub Marketplace, set up a plan. Here's the price for GetStream. It's free, as all good developer tools should be, right? Because we all know developers generally don't have budgets to get us to use tools, free tools, other things. The way this works for LinearB is a analytics and engineering package for providing developer metrics to the higher ups. So they have budgets, so we like them to pay for our stuff. As developers, we're just trying to get our job done. So you install it, and then you add these two files, a YAML file for GetStream actions, and you're pretty much ready to rock and roll. The way this works here is you pull a request, continuous merge kind of helps in. So once you're in, this is what our YAML files look like. We've got some nice stuff here to do it. We actually just had this new feature here. We actually can color your labels, so we can put labels on your PRs with different colors, and they're also stateful labels, which is really cool. So as things get move along, the labels can update as they go through. So these are just our sample files here, and then we've got a little overview of what everything's doing, how it works through, how the configuration works, and there's a lot of power here to go through. And then, of course, the examples are on most things. We can do label PRs by their complexity. We can do safe changes. We can do adding more approvals for bigger changes. So if an estimated time of review is bigger than 30 minutes, that's actually one of the cool features is we have this estimated time of review. This is one of my things I like the best. Give people an idea how long it's going to take them to review this thing. Mostly it's just based off a line number count. It's not real complex. But if it's a high, but we can decorate that with each PR, so you can see in a comment how long this review is going to take you. And if you have a guess, if it's a 5-minute review, cool, you're going to pound that out quick. If you see it's going to be a 30-minute review, you're going to schedule some time to do that. So this is really helpful so that you can plan your day better and you know what you're getting. Again, it's removing that Pandora's box. And lots of different ways here, validating formatting changes. This is a cool one. This is deprecated AIs. This is APIs. This is something I really like is if you are using a deprecated API, Gitstream will catch it and drop it into as a comment. So even before you're doing a review, if someone's updated the thing, they'll let you know the new ones. So this is some handy stuff that will catch you even before you hit testing, which is great. So there's some nice stuff. There's lots of examples here. How it works, lots of variables. We're seeing lots of different interesting ways on how people are using this. There's lots of filters. We have full regex support. Lots of these automation actions, adding comments, labels, reviewers. We allow you to approve it automatically. We allow you to merge it automatically, all through GitHub Actions. So right now, this is only working for GitHub. If you're not using GitHub, we're building more support for GitLab and Bitbucket next. But right now, this is there. You can set required approvals. You can require reviewers. There's a lot of tools that we're putting in here for dynamic arguments and different things here. So lots of good stuff. And there's a lot of depth here. And happy to answer questions. I guess that's about what I have to show you.
Thank you very much, Luca. This looks really interesting. I have a few questions myself, but I don't want to hog the presentation though. So folks, if you have any questions of your own, feel free to throw them in the chat or unmute your microphone and just share them. We've got a small enough group that I don't think we'll talk over the top of each other too badly.
Yeah. The adoption of this, it's you kind of have to work as a team to adopt it, but we're actively looking for people to try it and give us feedback and make it better. It's been getting better every we're in active development. We launched on September 22nd. So you guys, it's less than a month old. So you guys are getting, dripping, bleeding edge here.
Is it, when you say it's free, it's like free, like if I have a private repo, a public repo, one developer, 100 developers on my project, all of those are free.
All those are free.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, it runs GitHub Actions. So if you have a certain number of GitHub Actions, I believe you might hit into a limit within GitHub if you have a big repo and are doing a lot of different actions. But almost all CI/CD tools require GitHub Action to execute X, Y, or Z. So it's just that's about the only cost that's involved. But that's GitHub charging you, not us.
Right. Okay. I had another question for you. You showed the demo earlier of if it's a small review, like less than 100 deltas, I think was the YAML file, then automatically go in and do that. Can you mark? So sometimes I would, there are certain files like my DevOps integration scripts, for instance, where those files are generally a little bit on the smaller side. But if there's even a tiny change in there, it could break the entire DevOps pipeline. So there are certain files where like the delta might be 12, but I want to flag those small things, like because it was in this folder or these sets of files, it's still a big review. It's not a small review. Is there a way to like piecemeal out files or folders like that?
Yep, that's exactly it. That's exactly this files context. You put your full path and say, if that one there is, you need to require at least one, if not two reviewers, and you can use that. So that's exactly a use case where if it's those critical areas, like what I would do is I'd call it a critical review area, a critical review, and I'd list all my files. If it touches that file, I want to make sure that it gets reviewed.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's any other questions, Evan? I appreciate the comments in the chat. As I said, it's to us, to me, this feels it's one of the, I'm really excited about this because it kind of feels obvious. It's one of those products that it's like, why hasn't someone else done this before? Categorizing PRs, and that's one of the things that I'm excited with this is because that and it's a one of the other things that's been interesting with this, the dev team. So the dev team is based out in Israel. Our LinearB is split between Israel and the U.S. Sales, marketing, and a lot of our execs are in the U.S. Product and development is over in Israel. And what I was expecting to get and what we've got here as a product is actually incredibly powerful. It's more powerful than I was expecting, and I keep seeing new and different, unique ways that it's being used as more and more people start using it, because it's just figuring out how to make it work for you. And it's, as always, when you release software, people start using it differently, especially if you have like an API or a configuration file. People start using it differently than you intended, and there's been some really creative and interesting ideas that have come because a lot of people, the auto merging or the auto approving, that can be really scary for some folks, and some teams embrace it quickly. Others go the other way. They just want to make it, not necessarily slow down their production pipeline, but they want to add extra. They use Gitstream to add an extra layer of security to their pipeline. Rather than just let it free for all. Okay, you get your buddy to approve your PR request, or you get two buddies to approve your PR request, your code gets in and it breaks the build, right? It costs X number of dollars to restore. So there's you've got different ways to really give you control of how merges happen. And that's really the idea here, is like why we call it continuous merge, because continuous integration and continuous deployment are a set of defined rules of how you could integrate or how you deploy. Continuous merge is creating a set of rules on how you merge, and that's the idea here, is creating context sensitive rules on how you actually get your code from your laptop or your desktop into the main branch of development. That's really what it is. It's trying to speed up getting code from your laptop into the team.
When you mentioned the there's a parameter for the expected amount of time it will take to do the code review. I'm sorry, I think you said that's automated. That's automatically calculated by like doing a line count in the deltas, or is that a thing that can be?
Yeah, it's doing a line count in the deltas is how it's calculated.
Can that be overridden with a manual thing? Like, I know it was only 5 lines of code, but these are, if it's a DevOps pipeline script, and I know that those 5 lines touch this server and that server, and they fire off another thing, and I want to make sure someone actually does spend a half an hour on it, even though it's only 5 lines of code. Like I changed the Amazon keys, the secret keys. I want a human to actually go in and double check in my LastPass account that, yep, we added the right keys for such and such servers, so I'm not sending the wrong credentials to the wrong boxes. And that's going to take more than, it's a 5-line change, so I don't want it to automatically do it. I want a human to actually spend a half an hour and go, yes, that's the right one. I'm going to double check the other server. Yes, that's the right one.
I would just, what I would do on that is I would just add a specific label. So what I would do is, I'd kind of cheat. I would just say, so what I would do is be, like for an example like this, where this is calculated review. So this estimated time review is true. We add a label to say how long it is. All I would do is, critical path, and I'd hard code, instead of having it be a calculated, I'd hard code the label on, saying 30 minutes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. Like that's like, you could, it's just a label, so you can overwrite it just here. So here it's calculating the ETR with that critical thing on that critical file. Add a label that it's a 30-minute review. Okay. You can add a label to make it say anything.
Got it. And then kind of related to that, I don't want to do this, just making that disclaimer known before I say the question, but I can see other companies that would want to do something like this. There are a lot of outfits that their dev shop is people on like Upwork and Fiverr.com and outfits like that are just paid an hourly rate. And some of those platforms have an app that the developers install that takes periodic screenshots. If the client gets built for 4 hours, this app will randomly take a screenshot to make sure that there's code on their screen at different points in time during that 4-hour block, instead of a Minecraft screen or YouTube or whatever. If we had a pull request that said the expected time to review this is 2 hours, is there any sort of time card kind of functionality that says, okay, if they clicked yes, I'm going to start reviewing it at noon, but they approved it at 12:15. There's no freaking way that they did a 2-hour review.
Well, as I said, it's an estimate. So it's not.
And again, I don't want to do this. I'm just wondering if people in this kind of scenarios will get the metrics they're looking for or not.
Yeah, I don't think that metric. So we'd be able to. So that metric actually, I believe, would be available in LinearB. Because LinearB hooks in between your GitHub and your Jira, and we can calculate how long that PR took, and how fast that dev cycle was for that Jira ticket, I think.
Okay. Cool.
So I think that's probably the way that we would do it with LinearB. Let's just do for giggles here. Let's see here. Let's just pause my share here just to linear b.io and let's see, resume share. So like this is our LinearB setup. Cool thing, LinearB, we have a free thing for up to 8 contributors, and what it is, just to sign in here, can I log in with Google? And do I even have? Yeah, there's my LinearB account. Just to show what this is a little bit. It's our dashboard. This is actually our live from all our teams, and you see this cycle time. This is where we're saying, we've got it's taken roughly about 21 hours on average to code. It's about 20 hours to get a PR picked up, and our reviews are happening pretty quick. We're getting most of our reviews done in there, and then our deployments are a little slow right now. This changes, and it changes between teams. So so it gives a lot of data, for stuff here. We've got work in progress here with our different teams, and how things are going through. So there's a lot of different stuff that can be happening here. This is one of the coolest things I like, is this pulse. What this does is it actually collects your GitHub. It actually connects to your repo and actually tracks stuff that's actually getting done versus stuff that's and the pull requests for it. But what's really cool is it actually tracks stuff in the repo that doesn't have a Jira ticket assigned to it. So if you're doing stuff that doesn't have a Jira ticket assigned to it, you actually get some insight of the work that's getting done that really isn't getting tracked right. And if you've got a lot of buddy from sales, hey, can you fix this bug for the customer, and stuff that's not getting properly tracked, you can kind of see where things are going in. So there's some neat stuff. A lot of other stuff. We've got a project delivery tractor. This is kind of cool. Is your planning accuracy. We actually, so if you say it's going to take you, X number of times, and you plan for this, and then it said, we give metrics on if that accurate, if it's going to be accurate or not. So just good tools. As I said, this is a engineering leadership tool. Devs, it's great to look in as a dev and be able to see what's going on, but it's also really powerful to know if you're running a dev team. This is a great tool to keep an eye on how stuff's working. So that's what the main company's doing. But but that's not free. But that's where we go. So that's what I've got going on. Any other questions?
I had one more and it's escaping my brain at the moment. I got one for you, Luke. So can you go back to the well, you don't have to go, but there's one part on the screen just a moment ago you showed where there's the developers are spending about 22 hours writing code, and it takes another, I think it was 19 or 20 hours for a pull request to get picked up
Yep.
and reviewed by somebody. So if I want to make sure I'm understanding that, what that metric is showing before I ask the next part of my question. So it sounds like, so 19 hours is like 3 workdays ish. Are you saying like if I send Evan a pull request on Monday, it's taken until Wednesday, Thursday before Evan or whoever else in the developer team picks that up and actually does the pull request review?
Yep.
Is that what that's showing? Okay. So
Yep.
so how is this product solving that problem differently than me just going into the Slack channel where the developers are and being like, hey, who has time to review this pull request? And then putting the link in there.
So what we're actually doing, so we've actually got a tool called WorkerBee that actually automates and notifies when you do that pull request. We're working to merge that with GetStream so that it'll actually hit the Slack channel for you automatically.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we're working on that. We that was actually our first iteration, was called WorkerBee, and it's a Chrome plugin. And it's a Slack bot that will go. And one of the cool things, the first iteration with WorkerBee was if it's under 10 lines of code and it's only in one file, it'll actually take that block of code and let you both approve and comment on it in line right in Slack. So you don't even have to go to the browser.
Oh,
and that's available now. Yeah. Okay. Check out WorkerBee. It's pretty cool. Let me
I assume it's worker and then the letter B, like LinearB.
Yeah. Let's let me just pull it up here. So this is our dev page and WorkerBee. So it's you install it for Chrome. It then works with the it then starts bugging people about it, and you just install it in your Chrome and away you go.
Nice.
And of course, it's free as well. So, and that's yeah. So this helps that along. So
cool.
So yeah, that's GetStream gives you a lot more control, a lot more power, but we're working to get these integrated together so that yeah, you'll have WorkerBee, LinearB, and GetStream all integrated. Eventually, we'll have a panel in GetStream that will a panel in LinearB that will tell you how your automations are performing, how many things are actually working with your GetStream, all that type of stuff. And eventually we'll be also suggesting, okay, this automation's getting used over and over again. That one's using high use. But you've written this one for critical and no developers are using it. Why is that code not happening through there? So these are the types of things that leadership cares about. And we're going to start to provide those in the future. So lots of development to be done. We're still new at this, but yeah, it's exciting.
You mentioned you got plans coming up to support GitLab and Bitbucket. Is there any plan for the Amazon code repo, the name of which is escaping me at the moment?
I know we're looking possibly at Azure DevOps as well. Okay. I haven't heard of anybody else's that's in seeing significant use.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I did a podcast yesterday morning with Michaela from
Michaela
Light from TerraTech, and had a really good time with them. And they did a podcast, or they did a survey that said 60% of developers, this is Cold Fusion developers, are using GitHub, and then there's about another 20% using Bitbucket or GitLab, and a couple using Azure DevOps. And then the rest aren't using any source control whatsoever, which is scary. But that's
really scary.
But yeah, I recorded that podcast with him. Thankfully, off of your post on LinkedIn that he saw for this. So hopefully this has been an enjoyable talk and good stuff, and hopefully some debt, not just a product pitch.
No, it's really interesting. That is often a pain point. I know I have an Asana board for sort of one of my main projects right now that's got a lot of there's literally a category of, or a section on the Asana board of just these are things that need to be tested and verified by another developer. And we're kicking around better ways to streamline that process right now. So this
Cool.
might be something that we discuss with the dev team later.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, if anything, it makes your getting your pull requests more organized. Just getting context and labels. Like most of the usage we're seeing right now is adding comments, auto adding comments and labels and reviewers. It's very simple. We're not seeing people are getting more trusting of the tech to start doing the auto merging, auto approving. But it's as I said, we've had this out for only not even a month yet, so it's at the very beginning.
Awesome. Well, good luck with it. I hope it goes well. This seems really interesting.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks for having me on. This is great being part of this.
Always happy to have you and catch up a bit, my friend. Does anyone else have questions for Luke before we wrap it up? Very good. All right. Well, thank you once again, everybody, for coming. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.